evening. Thank you for joining us. So our guest speaker tonight is going to be Isabel at the moment. So thank you for joining us on live. As you know, this is Australian Anti-Ice Campaign. My name's Mel. So I'm filling in for Andrea tonight. She's in an important meeting, so I've been totally blessed to be the host tonight. So please bear with me. But I just want to say thank you for letting us talk to you and share to you about ice and the education around it and the dangers around it. So I just ask you, just please press share this now with your friends, with your family. You don't know who needs to hear this right now. Any part of Isabel's story can really change someone's life, even if that's one person out of the 99 is worth changing. So please press share. Also, you can follow us on www.australianantiicecampaign.org.au. And we're just going to go through some housekeeping stuff right now. So just want to say thanks to Pacific Shopping Centre for today's outreach. It was such a wonderful day. So thanks to everyone who donated and come to say hi. It was a really blessing. All the volunteers from Restore 21, Transformations, and everyone who helped build up for our op shop. Thanks to everyone who donated the stuff. That's really awesome and wonderful. Thank you for blessing us. It's going to bless a lot of people out there. Also, this Saturday is our grand opening day. So come on down. It's 10 a.m. this Saturday down at Southport. It's going to have a jumping castle, a sausage sizzle. It's going to be so much fun. Christian Forgiving us tickets for our raffle on our op shop grand opening. Kmart for our raffles. Burley Bouncers Jumping Castle High is going to be there. Radio Clubs for all the help and support. Mercer and Cooper Realty. I hope I pronounced that properly. Also want to went through the op shop, so I'm reading off stuff tonight. Hope you don't mind. So our raffle will be a $50 Kmart voucher and 2 tickets for Movie World. So that's going to be really awesome. And SeaWorld and Wet n Wild and Paradise Country. I don't know if you've been there before, but it's an awesome place to come back, especially coming out of COVID, just to have a bit of more excitement and getting back doing some fun things that brings happiness and joy. So also October the 24th is 10 a.m. Like I said, the op shop, I forgot to give you the address, so I apologize for that. That's Merkin Road, Kingston. So I'll spell that street name to you. It's Meakin Road, Kingston. Sorry?
For the Ride Against Ice.
Oh, was that for
Ride Against Ice? Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That was for the Ride Against Ice.
Okay. It's okay.
Well, I apologise, that wasn't for the op shop. That was for the Ride Against Ice. So that's on October the 24th. So you can, for more information on that, you can go to our Facebook page, Australian Anti-Ice Campaign. So go to the link and register now. And the op shop address is 204 Nerang Street, Southport. If you missed all of these addresses that I've said and the places, please just inbox now. We can get all your comments and stuff. Sorry, I do apologise for that. Join the army and sign the petition. So that would be awesome to do that if you want to sign up. Head on to our tour website, which is www.australianantiicecampaign.org.au. And there's a link there where you can sign the petition. If you'd like to donate, we are accepting food, blankets, sleeping bags for our on-street program. This is for helping those who are homeless. So please donate now. That's a really good need out there, and people are really struggling with this cold winter. It's been cold. The days have been lovely, which we're so blessed with that, but people are in need and we just need your help and support, so please donate. We have our merchandise. So as you can see, I've got the t-shirt on. The back's pretty cool. The back's here. We've got shirts and cups and mugs and hats. So please check our website for details. Follow us on social media accounts. So we've got the Facebook Australian Anti-Ice Campaign, our Instagram @Australian Anti-Ice. We've also got Twitter. Twitter us Ostenice?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ostenice. Just send a message through the comments. The admin will send it through. And you... and can you share this video then? Can you start sharing, please? That would be awesome. You can also call 1-800-NO-TO-ICE. So that is 1-800-NO-TO-ICE. Or 1800-66-86-423. So that's all for our housekeeping at the moment. So we just want to welcome, so you can give Isabel a welcome. Thank you for coming on. Yay. So Isabel's gonna we're just going to talk about your story and how this has come about in your life and what kind of, education wise we can help someone out there. So you're a really blessing. So once again, thank you for coming on board. So can you just tell us what your your childhood growing up was like?
So I think I probably had a pretty difficult growing up childhood experience. Just a lot of different things, a few family struggles, lots of bullying in my life. And I think for most of my life, I don't feel like I ever really fit in anywhere. I was probably a pretty lonely, sad kid. My family, I come from a pretty large family. I'm one of 7 children. And I think there's been a lot of intergenerational trauma in my family, so that's probably had an impact on some of my own stuff. I mean, I've had happy times as well, but it was pretty hard.
Yeah. And do you think, what age did you start using, and do you think that was because of your childhood that's related to why you started using?
Yeah, so I think the first time I tried a drug probably when I was about 14. It was just pot and, drinking and stuff. Didn't really like that. But when I was about 15 or so, I met a guy, fell madly in love with him, and he kind of introduced me to sort of harder drugs, I guess. And that's kind of was a downhill spiral from there. But I think my childhood being lonely and sad, and a lot of the bullying experiences that I had, I think wanting to escape or wanting to feel like I could connect with people, or I think that was probably part of a longing that I had.
So you didn't have really the support around that you wanted to at the time?
I think so, yeah. I left home quite early, so I think I ran away from home when I was about 14.
Yep.
So and I was trying to do a hairdressing apprenticeship at the time when I was 15, and that's when I met this guy. So so I think it was just a time in my life where I wanted to, I don't know, but
Yeah. So do you, was there much positive support networks around, or do you think that maybe if you're in if you had the proper right support, like maybe anti-ICE was around or something around that to help guide you, would that kind of change your path, do you think? Did you actually were mindful of that, or you just was happy to go for the ride at that time because it was fun and exciting meeting this first guy that you fell in love with and stuff?
I think probably I had untreated mental health issues. Probably if I had treated them, I probably maybe wouldn't have gone so hard into that kind of world. But probably for me, it was like a 10-year journey on drugs and stuff. I didn't really realise I had like an addiction. I didn't really realise I was an addict. I just thought I was normal and just partying here and there. And, as I got older, it got worse and worse. And my addiction got worse and worse. I was in denial, Yeah,
they say that with like myself and a few that I know, that we think that we're functioning and we're all good until we get like speech psychosis or paranoia.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about that? Did you get any of that, or did you end up in jail or mental institution, or?
Yeah. So I definitely ended up having to go into mental health units and stuff just because of my mental health was deteriorating. I think drugs and all sorts of things were part of that. I have had psychosis, speech psychosis. That's pretty brutal. Had to go to hospital for that too. I haven't been to jail. I was probably just lucky that I didn't get caught with some of the stuff that I was doing. So it was more just luck, I guess, you could say, or blessed, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well done. So Was your mental health before you used, or did it come after you used, and it got worse?
I definitely had mental health issues before. So I think my mental health probably started even in my childhood. But when I was a teenager, sort of 12, 13, 14, it's probably one of the most brutal, dark depressions I went through for a couple of years. Was pretty messed up. I started losing a bit of touch with reality, had suicidal thoughts. So I was a pretty depressed person before I ended up trying drugs.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was, I think that made me more vulnerable to developing an addiction.
Yeah. So with the type of drugs you use, like obviously you use ice, but there's other drugs obviously people dabble in because it comes in with addiction, and we're just trying to break that addiction and break that habit, whether it's ice or other stuff, but everything comes into alignment when we start using something. We always try something else, or the opportunity opens. So what kind of drugs did you have used? And
So I tried a lot of different things. So I think I've tried most things, ecstasy, LSD, what other things are? I have tried like opiates and stuff like that. Not so much heroin, but more like tablet forms of those things. But amphetamines and ice and stuff was the thing I really got hooked on. I think also for me, I have had chronic health issues, and so fatigue was something I always really struggled with. And I think me getting addicted to amphetamines was also having depression. I think at the time, before I realized how bad it was, I liked what it did. So it gave me the confidence. It was almost like at first it felt like the opposite of depression. I felt I had confidence, I enjoyed things more, I felt full of life, I felt like I could talk to people, and it fixed my energy. But then obviously things get out of hand, and then you end up with, I found, more negative things than positive. But I think that was what made me vulnerable to getting addicted to that.
Yeah, and then that's what the drug ice and these drugs do. They build that endorphins and that release that we need, especially if we're trying to numb feelings, like you say. And it's really that we've got an enemy out there, like he's the devil, and he will try to attack and use this drug. And like it's a gateway drug. These drugs are really gateway drugs. And the more it lies to you, tells you that you're enjoying it and you're happy and you're actually really feeling it. And the more you get into it, it's more like you unravel into this dark, dark world.
Yeah.
So can you tell me that when did you realize, or did you even realize when you were in that dark moment? And what was that like light experience or a hope or a turning point that, like, whoa, this is like way too much, this is full on? Was there something like that?
Yeah, I've had a few experiences like that. I think I got to a stage where, I was so addicted, and I actually was in denial. I didn't realize I was addicted. I thought I had it under control. I thought, no, I'm not an addict because I can still go to work. I don't do it every day. But I definitely was an addict. And I used so much that basically I couldn't even get high anymore. So then I got really depressed because I would need it to even function and wake up, but I couldn't even get high. Everyone else around me was getting high, but so I almost pushed it too far. And I think, I got to a pretty dark place, and being around people as well who are just as messed up, I had a lot of really negative experiences with people where they hurt you, hurt people. So, my mental health deteriorated, and I sort of, there was a few times when I nearly took my life, but I feel it was actually quite miraculous how I didn't end up doing that. But yeah, my turning point sort of, I think I hit rock bottom. I felt, my work was being affected. I wasn't able to go to work. I became homeless. I'd lost so many relationships, so many broken relationships. I had no friends. I was estranged from my family, but they were still talking to me. My dog got run over. I had all these just negative things happen, and I basically hit rock bottom. And my parents, I think I had to go into a psych ward for a little bit. I was having drug-induced psychosis as well. And then from there, my parents said, just come up and stay with us for a little while. So I took a month or two off work. I was lucky that my work gave me that time off. Most workplaces won't do that, but mine did. They didn't actually know that I was battling addiction. They thought it was just my mental health, but there was drugs involved. I just was hiding it. But I finally, for the first time, spoke to my mum about it. And I remember she said to me, because because I said, you know, I do drugs and this and that. She asked me, and then I said, but I'm not an addict. And she said, well, can you go a month without using? And I said, and she goes, well, that makes you an addict. And I think for the first time I was in a ward when she said this to me, the penny dropped. I was just like, wow, like maybe I am an addict. And I think when I started embracing, you know, the truth of that, that's when things started to change in my life. And so I went up and I stayed with my parents for a little while, and from there, it's a long story what happened with me, too long to tell you guys, but I ended up having a very spiritual experience when I was staying with my parents, and that led me to end up developing a faith. So that was my real turning point, because I think up until then I hadn't even realized I was an addict. I thought I had it under control, yeah.
No, that's really good. Some people turn to faith, and some people turn to rehab, and it's just good that we can get into recovery, and it's really good that we can bring this to you, and we thank you for being vulnerable and sharing with this. It's not easy getting up here and sharing the story. But if you do have questions for Isabel, please send them through. We've got our admin lady just waiting to, reply to you, and we can, just send them on through. But while we're waiting for anyone that would like to talk to Isabel or ask her questions, so just if you want to shed some light on the education of drug-reduced psychosis, is that what you said?
Drug-induced.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you explain that to myself and everyone out there, what that is and what the education around, what that means and the education around it?
Okay. Yeah. So obviously I'm not clinician or clinical. This is just from my experience and my understanding, but it can happen with a lot of different drugs, but yeah, it's how to explain it.
That was a hard one. Sorry.
How to explain it. So
is it kind of like a therapy training, like cognitive behavior training, like renewing the mind or anything?
Drug-induced psychosis is what the drug. It's basically a type of mental illness that you can get specifically from a lot of drug use. Different drugs can cause it, so it's like a mental health episode. It's not the same as schizophrenia or bipolar. It's specifically related to the drug use, so it's like a brief psychosis. That's what drug-induced.
And you can come out of that?
Yes. So I don't. I'm lucky that I don't suffer from ongoing psychosis. Some people do. But yeah, so I had brief kind of psychotic episodes from my drug use.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. So what's life like now in recovery, and how long have you been clean for?
Yeah. So it's so much better. Can I just say? At first, the early days was the hardest, the most brutal. I used to think, is it going to be this hard forever? I don't think I can do life sober, because it was just so hard. But, once you get past, a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, you do start to feel more normal. Your energy levels start to return, your depression. I needed also medication and things to help me with my mental health and stuff. But, yeah, I think so. 2012 was my turning point. That's sort of when I had this sort of life-changing crossroads, and that's when I ended up developing a faith that helped me stay off drugs. I think before then I never had enough reason to not go back. The pull or the desire to was so strong before, but this was like enough for me to kind of have something different in my life, something worth letting go, or but so 2012 was that point. So it's been, I think, 8 years. I have had a relapse in that 8-year period. One relapse. I did notice when I first came off drugs, I did turn to alcohol first. So I was struggling with binge drinking and stuff, and I was battling with that a bit. So now I don't have that as much of a problem. I'll have alcohol here and there, but I don't feel like I feel like that's under control. But I did notice that I was almost like swapping, like that kind of tendency to seek a high. I was like, I don't want to touch drugs, and so that was the early days. But I think, and I've got a good support network now. So now that really keeps me on track. That's probably crucial.
That's so good. And So as just to let you know, this is not a religious organisation, but this is her hope story. It's been my hope story, and it's so good that you've had something to hold on to and bring that hope through for you, because you obviously needed something to guide you through. And we do know how the enemy attacks through using and stuff like that. So that's really awesome that he can bless you like that. Just with people out there, just want you to know that you can have a buddy. We can let you buddy up. We've got a buddy system where you have kind of like a mentor, someone walk with you and walk through life with you and journey with you. You don't do this alone. If you've got a parent and that you have a child in addiction, that is very hard. I have some friends who have children in addiction, and I'm just watching them. It's very hard as a mother and a father to watch that. So please reach out to us. We have a program where we can just talk to the parents and help guide you and support you on how that works. We have a lot of things here where we can help you into recovery, whether you're 4 years or 10 years into recovery but struggling. Like, this is a lifetime battle, mentally and physically. Like, when you come out of it, it really affects you mentally and physically, and just to stay on board. So we just want to say that we're here to help. Anti-ICE campaign is just someone to hold your hand and guide there and be there for you. And that's. Do you have any questions?
I have something to say, if that's okay. It just made me think it's something that I've always wanted to share with people when, people trying to recover from addiction. And I remember I used to hear a lot, because I actually used to work in mental health and come across, addiction stuff. I've done training in addiction and stuff, but I used to often hear this is a lifelong disease. You're gonna, it's an illness. You're gonna be battling it every single day. You have to, and to be honest with you, for me, it's easy now. I don't even think about addiction now. In the early days, it was hard. I had to avoid my triggers, like the actual drugs. So there was certain music for me I could not listen to because it would just make me want to use. But now I would love, if I can get that message out there. It's not nowhere near as hard as it was at the beginning. It's actually, I don't even think about it. I feel free from it. But it's taken time, and it's taken, I had to choose. For me, I had to be careful in the early days who I hung around with, who I was with. I couldn't be around people who were using and then not want to use. So for me, I had to be, those are the things I needed to do. But I want people to know that it's not going to be, well, I can't say what it's going to be like for you, but I'd like you to know that it's possible.
Yeah, there's
that, if you're trying to get off drugs, and the early days are brutal, they are brutal. For a lot of people, it's not like that forever. And it gets easier for a lot of people.
And thanks. And it's really important to have that support network and to have those strategies in place. Like, do you have like practical skills or spirit? I don't know if we can do spiritual skills, but obviously that's supported you and it's supported me. Do you have those tools that you can actually get people out there? Okay, awesome. Cool. So, do you want to? So, faith really helped us both, and Isabel's exactly right. Where there is hope that you can lose the desire, and that because of Jesus and because of God, and you might not be interested in that, and that's totally fine. We're here to support you, and we're not here to preach down your throat or anything like that. We just want to be here to support you and get you away from that evil drug. So there is possibility, and thank you for shedding that light. I was just trying to be cautious what to say, but I just want to say those practical tools and spiritual tools, what are they that they use that got you to your recovery now?
So for me, praying is really helpful, but I know for a lot of people meditating is really helpful. So that's, and there's a lot of science around prayer and meditation, the powers of that. I find meditation hard because I'm not good at silencing my mind, but those kind of things can work for people. For me too, when I'm having a bad day, and I still have bad mental health days, like really bad mental health days sometimes, for me, sleeping. So I've had to learn, instead of using or trying to numb that, I wake up, it's almost like it resets me slightly. I'm still not 100% better, but I actually use that as a way of, but that is a way that I then don't use drugs to deal with my really intense emotions, and so that's something. And obviously friends, support, talking to people, having a belief system. Obviously mine's my faith, but believing in something, finding a purpose, finding meaning, I think those things are things that can keep you on the right track. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like renewing your mind and just changing the way we look at things. I remember being a very negative person. Were you very like
Yes.
negative thoughts? And if something positive or something good happening, you're like, no, there's going to be something negative all the time. And it was just because in that world, in the world of, in your mind, when you're using like we were saying before, you get all that joy and then it comes and unravels, and then you get speech psychosis and paranoia, and then it all sets in, and then you feel like the world's just horrible and cruel. And can I just tell you that, and Isabel can say that, you know, recovery brings hope, it brings life, and, you know, it brings new joys and blessings. Like you're married
freedom.
now.
Yeah.
Married with a beautiful boy. Yeah, so that's wonderful that you've got that support there, and you've got your church, and you know you've got us, and so that's so good.
Thank
you. Yeah. So I just, how are we doing for time? Oh, good. Okay, good. So with the how long clean did you say you were? Sorry.
So about 8 years, but I have had like
cool.
sort of a major relapse in that 8-year period.
Yeah. And when you relapsed, was it something that, you know, the guilt kicked in, or was it, you know, oh, that was actually really yucky, that like it reminded me of old memories that...
Yeah. Oh, you know, it's funny because I didn't even get high. So I kind of thought, you know, given enough years, you know, I'd probably get super high. I didn't even get high. And I'm actually really grateful for that, because, you know, it just reminded me of how crap it actually is, and how disappointing it actually is. And, you know, like I've heard people talk about like they chase the dragon. Like I feel like I was always chasing that first kind of real high, you know, and I feel like you never quite get that ever again. You might get close, but you never quite get that. And it's just, that life is just so disappointing. So so my relapse, I feel grateful that I didn't stay in shame. Like I still think about it, and I still feel sad about it, and I still feel gross about it, but I don't feel like that I can't move on from it. And it just reminded me of why I'm so glad that that's not my life anymore. I'm so glad that I'm not, because I really felt in chains to it. I really felt like entrapped in that world. Like it was a dark place. Addiction. Yeah, addiction is hard. It's hard.
So for encouragement for someone, we'll do a few encouragement things. So for people who actually that aren't in recovery yet and struggling, what encouragement do you have for them tonight?
You know, every day is a new day, every moment's a new moment, and, you know, everyone's journey is different. So it's, I think, about finding your path, finding your, you know, and finding, I think, when people have enough reason or enough motivation to be able to, when the, you know, the negative outweighs the positive, you know, enough, you've got to, you know, it's like one tiny choice at a time, and it all builds, and it, you know, before you realize you've walked a mountain, you know. So every choice, every moment that you say no is not insignificant. Every time you know, it's just because you say no once and then next time you relapse and you feel like it was all in vain. No, the fact that you're starting to even think about that, it's huge. It's huge. So don't underestimate the little changes, because they are huge. And I think that's what slowly you build upon that. Yeah.
And so to continue with that, like the encouragement for those who have relapsed, like as you were saying, to keep going and stuff. What's the encouragement you can say for mentality of, you know, when you're in that place and you're like, oh, I've just stuffed up again, you know, and you're in that guilt and stuff, and so you're like, oh, I've just ruined it, let's just keep using. Like what can they do practically to maybe, you know, you guys can reach out to us when you're in that moment, when you're just relapsed, you know, reach out to us, reach out to a loved one, reach out to Isabel tonight, like send a message through. She's not on Facebook, but you can contact us through Anti-Ice Campaign. I'll be on there, so I can be in contact with Isabel and send through, and she can just reply back to you personally through text message through me if I hear. So encouragement for actually parents or carers that are going through a loved one in addiction, children, a family member that's actually really affecting their life. Because, you know, when you're in addiction, there's usually abuse, there's usually poverty, there's neglect. What kind of like encouragement would you give a loving family that really needs some love and grace right now?
I would say your child or your loved one is never too far gone, you know, and you never know where their journey might just turn around. So don't give up on them. Don't try and look at the mess of what you see. Like, I'm sure people would have thought that I never would have got past it, you know, never would have been free of it. They probably thought my whole life would have just been a cycle of all this nonsense, in and out of psych wards, in and out of all that stuff. But yeah, so no one's ever too far gone, and sometimes for some people they do have to hit rock bottom. Not for everybody, so don't be afraid of that for people, because sometimes that's a thing that can actually free them. Because I think sometimes you just have to have enough reason to say no more. I've had enough. I'm sick of this, of these empty promises. That it's, you know. Yeah, but not for everybody. But
yeah, and when they hit that rock bottom, that you're that loving parent and caring that's going to be there. And we it's really hard when you're in a parent and a caring of someone that's in addiction, because you don't want to be there to enable them and stuff. So there's a very thin line and very thing of wisdom of how to pull back and let go. And but there's a lot of people that's asked us through a church that we know that you know. I had a lady ask, should I kick my child out? And everyone's told her to. And God just put on my heart that, you know, no, keep him there. Like it's not enabling him. He's actually in a safer place because she's a Christian, so can pray on that house is protected. But in saying what I'm saying, that if you're not a Christian or anything like that, it's just that don't be there for your children, but know your boundaries. You need healthy boundaries, because it will be a heavy burden on you. And that's where it will be great when you can contact us. And yeah, so can you please share your trigger strategy, how to say no from your triggers if someone's asking?
So I think it's good to be aware of what your triggers are. So I know for me, certain music, and I would know that because I would just start thinking about using, I'd start feeling the sensations of, you know, it was pretty obvious that certain music was just like, okay, I need to stay away. So I'd have to actually switch the radio station. I couldn't even, you know, same when I'd go out somewhere, if I'd hear certain, I'd have to literally, you know, or sometimes you can't leave, but just be mindful, I'm being triggered right now. That doesn't mean I have to give into it. So distractions, really helpful. For me also, seeing people on stuff was really hard. So I still had friends who were still on drugs and stuff, and even just people I know. And yeah, so seeing them, so just being aware that that's going to be a triggering situation for me. So I think being aware of what your triggers are, you'll know what's triggering. Basically, anything that's making you want to start. You know, sometimes even just having a bad day or someone really hurting you can be a trigger. You know, so I know for me, like, I've got to reach out. So when I'm, you know, my deteriorating mental health can be a trigger, so I've got to get support for that. I've got to, you know, things like that. I think
that's really good. Thank you for sharing that. It's just you need to kind of like when you have triggers, myself and some friends, we kind of need self-care. So what are yours, apart from reaching out to people, what are your self-care kind of needs? And for people out there, to give them some ideas of self-care. And you know, we have some introverts and we have some extroverts, and we've got some ambiverts where you like both and you like people, but you also got to retreat. And when you come out of addiction, it kind of feels like we're an ambivert, like we want to mingle and reach out to people, but we're also struggling with mental health and depression, anxiety. That's the aftermath of using. So what kind of self-care works for you that could possibly help someone else?
So I know if you have the energy to, so like if you've got a lot of anxiety and stuff, for me, like walking is really helpful. But sometimes if my depression is worse or I'm really struggling with fatigue, I can't do that. So to me, I need to sleep more. And so I need to make the time to do that. I have to know when to say no to hanging out with people, because I know with me, if I get too busy, I get burned out, and then my mental health deteriorates more. So it's that fine balance between enough socializing but not too much. I've never really been into like day spas and stuff like that, because I often didn't have the money, but I know a lot of people that's really nice if you can treat yourself in those kind of ways. Or some people I know of that go to a movie or by themselves, you know, if you don't feel like you have a lot of healthy friends or support networks. You know, just I guess it's about anything positive, calming, that you find nourishing, that you find good. Finding those little things, even if it's something small, like even if it's just a meal that you choose during the day that you really enjoy, and you treat yourself in that way. It can be a healthy meal, can be an unhealthy meal, whatever, you know. But just finding little things to just kind of, you know, it's okay kind of thing. Like,
No, that's
be
good.
kind, finding ways to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
No, that's wonderful, and we do need to do that, and we need to do that daily, and like 1 minute at a time to an hour at a time. Like if that's what it takes, do that self-care, have healthy boundaries, learn to say no to people and no to obligations and pull back, but don't do it too much that you isolate yourself too, because you do need that connection. I just want to instate, I think that's the right word, that we would love to be your accountability partner, we're your buddy partner. We would love to walk beside you. So please ring that number, 1800, no twice, not even once. That's our logo here, and I think we learnt this one, not even once. So learn that, not even once. So 1800 66 86 423. So having an accountability partner, so that would work, wouldn't it? Cause,
it does help. I think if you've got people around you who you can be honest with, who don't condemn you, who don't who love you, but still are honest and real with you, because you don't want someone who just never challenges you, but you don't want to be so challenged that they just hurt you, or just you know what I mean. Like you need to have the right kind of people. I think it is important to have support, because I think too, in the early days, you might not feel like you have much support, and those are the hardest days. But
so it's really good. And if you don't have anyone, or you find that the person that you are traveling with, like Isabel said, it's hard to find. You might go through a few people before you get that connection of to walk alongside, and that's why it's really good. If we would love you to walk alongside us, and I've just already said this, but it's really important. We don't judge. We've been there. Half of us have been in recovery, and we've come out of it. So please just comment below, contact us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I just want to also say, did you get back into work? Did you have a job while you were using, or study? And when you also came out of recovery, if you can also continue of what that looked like. Did you have support getting, was it hard, and so forth?
So I think I did have a job, in and out of jobs when I was going through my addiction, but my addiction started like really impacting on my work, as it usually tends to do. So I think I took a break from work for a while, and then I got into study, so I took a break, and that was good because it wasn't, although the study was hard, but it was nice to kind of not have a job, to kind of be learning. So like feeling my need, keeping busy enough that you're not so bored that you just, want to use kind of thing. And I think in the early days, I basically just had my family. I didn't have a lot of friends. I lost a lot. Basically, I lost almost all my friends, because basically all my friends were other addicts with other mental health issues, and they were just, for me at the time, they weren't healthy people to be around. I ended up getting new friends. I moved. For me, moving was probably a positive thing. Not everybody has to move, please don't think that. My family moved first, so I ended up following them. So it was just the way it happened for me. But, I slowly ended up making more friends and finding more like-minded people. As I got healthier, I met more healthier people. And so now I've got really good connections and, really amazing people in my life that I couldn't... If someone had told me when I was a child that you will have friends like this one day, like, if I believed them, I probably never would have got on drugs. So now I have that. But I think it, you often, there's a saying in Spanish... Oh, no. Is it Spanish? No. It's Australian, birds of a feather flock together. In Spanish, there's a saying that says, tell me who you hang around with and I'll tell you who you are. So I think, if you're in an unhealthy place, if you've got all this stuff going on, you will naturally attract other, broken people, and often hurt people. We don't mean to, but that's usually the way it happens. Yeah. Even though people might want to help each other, they often don't because of all that unhealthiness. So the more healthy you can become, the more you will attract more healthy people, and the more healthy you can stay. So that's really important. Yeah. But and even for me, there were times in my life when my only friend was actually my psychologist or my counselor. Literally, there were times that they were the only person in the world that was keeping me alive. So I've had literally times in my life where I didn't have family because of my drug use and my mental health issues. I lost all my friends, because that just happens. And the only person in my life was my psychologist, and they kept me alive. Yeah, so yeah,
That's really good.
It's not there's no shame about that. I'm grateful for that. You know.
Yeah. And it's good that we're actually in that era and time frame and generation where we have all these wonderful support networks and things. So we just connect in with your doctor to psychologist. It really does help to get it out. And I know sometimes it's hard to talk about trauma, and it actually, but it's part of healing. And you know your balance. You know when to stop. And
yeah, I was just going to say, even though faith was important to me, I still get counselling. I've been off psychiatric medication for a number of years, but I've also got back on them when things get harder. So I think that's really important too. I think and finding a worker that you connect with. I've seen so many different counsellors, psychologists, psychiatrists. I couldn't even tell you how many, but there were only a handful that actually I really connected with and were really helpful and were really just supportive. So my advice is search for the right person. They're out there. You've sometimes got to keep knocking and keep opening doors. But and a GP is a perfect place to start.
I just want to say like we're so proud of you, and so it's just amazing just hearing your story right now of just all these challenges, but you still continue. Like even that moment when you were with your psychologist and counselor, that must have been a very lonely time, and all different things of processing different thoughts, and you still pushed forward, you still went forward, and I just applaud you. That's just amazing. And you can do it too. People out there can do it too. It's obviously possible, thanks to Isabel. So just if anyone's got any comments or you want to share through, now's a good time, because we'll probably finish up soon, so send them on through before we finish. And just also, if you are in recovery and you're struggling to find work, so sometimes it's hard to get back into work or study. There's some barriers there, and we just want to offer that. We've got volunteer opportunities here. We've also got work experience. We'll love you to come on board. We'll love to support you and help you do up a resume, get you into work, get you into study, see what your new hobbies are, because when you come out of that world, you're trying to find yourself again. You're trying to find your new identity, and what does that look like? And it's a good journey. I want you guys to actually see it as a good journey. It's hard. Well, it's hard and challenging, and you're going to have all these mixed emotions. Finding something new is actually, I want you to try to change your perspective and mindset that this is a new chapter for you, a new exciting chapter, that you can be blessed, you can have a new life, and away from drugs is freedom
and peace. And I think for me, finally getting off addiction, the peace that I felt in my soul, there's a peace when you don't feel bound to something like that. Because I never felt right about being addicted. I always felt that it was wrong, but I was caught in it. And I think sometimes the hardest times are when you think, am I ever going to be free of this? Is this going to be my life for the rest of my life? But there are so many people who get out of it, time and time again. Just find people, listen to the positive stories, listen to the people's recoveries. People can and do get through it. There's all different paths to get off this stuff, so yeah, you don't have to be stuck in that
world.
Yeah.
Well,
I would never want to go back to it. Now that I'm past it, I would never go back to it now.
So just say, because you've got a young son, he's very little,
Yes.
but just because obviously you want to educate him on this eventually and stuff. Well, what kind of how would you educate your son, do you think, when the time comes? I know I'm just putting you on the spot and you don't know.
I probably would tell him too much, but that's not an age-appropriate conversation.
We know that children, we go out to schools and we go educate to schools and teach them about the dangers of ice, and we're trying to stop the next generation of using and the dangers. So we would really want to, what would you say to your son? I know of children starting at the age of 12, so it doesn't really mind about the age. Like obviously you would know when you'll get that feeling of time.
I've thought about this, and I don't know if it's actually the right thing to say to someone, but I remember when I first tried drugs, I always had this curiosity about it. Like I always was like, what is it like to be high? Obviously it's pretty good when you see people how addicted they are, so I always had this kind of curiosity. And I don't know if it would have helped me, but I always thought, I wonder if someone had told me, you know what, it really is that good, the high, you know, initially. It's terrible eventually. So that to kind of say, but do you know what, it's not worth it. And I almost thought to myself, like, I wish I never experienced that, because then in the early days it was so hard to fight not wanting to live like on that level, because you know it's just not natural to be that high, you know. And once you've opened that door, it's hard to close it. And I don't know if it would be helpful to say that, but to say, look, it really is that good initially. So, you know, so if you're curious about it, you know, people get addicted for a reason, but it's just so not worth it. And in the end, the troubles that come with it, the pain that comes with it, the darkness that comes with it, the suffering that comes with it, it's just not worth it. Yeah. And it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time before the negative outweighs the positive.
That's right.
Yeah.
Were you like one of those people that, you know, I'm not addicted. I've got this.
Definitely.
I've got it under control.
Definitely. I didn't think I was an addict. I didn't think I was an addict because I still had a job, even though I was struggling with it. My friends who knew me when I was on drugs to when I got off it, they said to me, you know, you didn't even make sense when we used to talk to you. And I was like, what? Like, yeah, we used to just talk and talk and talk, and you didn't even make sense. I was like, why didn't anyone tell me? I thought I was hiding it, because half the time, you know, like, it was terrible. I was using when I'd go meet a friend who wasn't an addict to go to watch a movie. You know, I would use in the toilet before I'd watch a movie, and I didn't even realize I was an addict. Like, I thought, I've got this under control. You know, but it took a while for the penny to drop. And I used to always think that people who were in denial had to make themselves in denial first, but I learned that you subconsciously go in denial. You don't even, that's not even a choice at the beginning. It's like your brain tries to protect you because no one wants to say, I'm an addict, and you know, no one, that's not how anyone ever wanted to, I'm sure. You know.
No, that's right. And did your addiction affect your family?
Yeah. So I think, you know, obviously makes your mental health deteriorate. You're erratic, you know, you're all over the shop. You know, I think my family were very tired trying to help me and support me and watching me go through stages, and, you know, and then just watching, you know, just how erratic people are, and then, you know, like, and then struggling with suicidality, which I'd always end up in and out of struggling with. So I think they just didn't know how to help me, you know, I think my family, I don't know what they thought, but I'm sure that they were very surprised when I got off drugs. I think a lot of them were surprised that I would be free of it because of how bad it was.
Yeah. And did you like kind of thought, because when you're high you think you're normal, like you don't think you're high at all, and so when you're around your family and friends,
think you're hiding it.
You go through a stage, so that's when the paranoia came in and stuff like that. So did you get like social, most people on ice or any drugs can go into self-isolation and paranoia, social anxiety around people. It was, did you find it very hard to like go to shops and even have a normal conversation?
I remember, like, I've always been someone who used to stare into people's eyes too much, but I remember when I was using drugs, I actually struggled to look in people's eyes. I had this sense that, you know, I knew I was doing, I knew it was wrong on a deep level, but I couldn't, you know, I convinced myself, they don't know, it's fine, I'm in control, you know. I would go to Christmases and stuff high and, you know, think that my family wouldn't know. I'm sure they knew, but, you know, obviously there's not much point in challenging someone if you think that they're so in denial and not ready to,
So for those who are out there, because there will be many. I don't know how bad the ice epidemic. That's the word is right now, and you know, those people that are in social anxiety and stuff. Well, like, what can you say to them, because they don't want to reach out? They're very isolated and, you know, want to keep to themselves. Like, when you were like that, did you want to reach out? Like, inside, were you crying out, just saying, would someone just reach out to me? Like, I wish my mum would reach out to me. I wish my neighbour next door reached out to me, or something.
I think I felt very lonely still. Like, you know, you party with people and you think you're having a fun time. You think you're connecting with them while everyone's high, but when it's all done and dusted and everyone's sober, like, you're so lonely. You're so lonely. So I think, I've just felt so lonely.
Yeah, so if you guys are feeling lonely and feeling that anxiety, we understand. We get it. Like Isabel gets it. We've been there. You know, you can just send us an email. We don't have to talk to you verbally. You just send us on our link that you just need help. We can send you text messages. That is so much easier for someone who's actually struggling with verbal communication or face-to-face communication. We still want to connect with you. We still want to help you, and we can do that way. There's so many opportunities and doors that we can, you know, help with that. And Isabel's like, she's just got an amazing story of how she's come through recovery. Like, so if you have any questions, you know, of even if something's resonated with you or related to you through her story, you know, you text through now. We would love to hear from you. You're not alone in this. We just really want you to connect through to us right now. And so thank you for joining us today. And you're such a blessing. And you're just amazing. So if you want to share your story with us, please join our live stream. Send us a message, whether you are a lived. It's getting tired. Past my bedtime. A lived experience or a family member who went through this with someone you love. We are happy to have you on board. Your story will help someone. Yes. So please just come through, share your story. It's really not that scary. We both thought that it's going to be scary when we shared it, but it's not. Just pretend you're talking to the phone. But your story can actually really help someone. Like, it can really change lives, and it does change lives. We see transformations all the time, and you know, recovery is so important, and it's so going to change your life. So before we sign off tonight, 2 more days before the grand opening, for this shop Saturday, we are open at 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. 204 Nerang Street, Southport, across Mark Jackson Automobiles. Is that right? I'm half dyslexic. We have so many good stuff donated, and we're happy to show it to you. We will have jumping castles, sausage sizzles, and raffles. We also have that $50 voucher that I was talking to you about before from Kmart, and 2 tickets from Movie World. I just love Kmart. We just can go shopping. And you get so much stuff with $50. So please come join us, and we'll see you there. Good night. Have a good sleep. Thank you. Oh, not even once. Bye.